My name is Haley and I just turned 25 today. But instead of blowing out candles or hearing congratulations, I was in my nurse's scrubs, rushing down the crowded hallways of St. Mary's Hospital. A 12-hour shift didn't bother me because at least here I felt respected by coworkers and patients. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket, delivering the bitterest birthday gift of my life. A text from my father Charles lit up the screen. "We sold your car. Family comes first. Be grateful you still live at home rent-free." I froze. That was my old Honda Civic, the one I had carefully chosen and paid for with 2 years of savings from my salary. The title was in my name, every payment came from my account. Yet in one short message, all of my effort and pride were erased. Before I could even catch my breath, another message arrived, even more brazen. "Your brother Aiden starts at State University next month. First semester tuition is $6,200. You'll cover it. Deadline is this Friday." I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My chest burned with anger and despair. For years I had grown used to being stripped of what was mine. My paychecks, scholarships, even little gifts from my grandmother. But this time on my own birthday they had stolen my car, the only symbol of independence I had, and then demanded I shoulder my brother's massive tuition bill. I slipped into the supply room to avoid my coworker's eyes and shakily dialed my dad. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried my mom, her name is Karen. After 4 rings she finally answered, her tone unnaturally light, as if pretending everything was normal. "Haley, I'm busy." "What is it?" I could hear Aiden laughing in the background. I forced my voice to stay calm. "Mom, where's my car? Dad texted me that he sold it. The title is in my name. I paid for everything." There was a short pause before she answered flatly, "Your dad handled the paperwork. The family needed the money. You live here practically for free, so you should contribute more. A car is just transportation. You can take the bus." My throat tightened like it was closing. I snapped back, "That's my legal property. You can't just sell it. What you did is against the law." She sighed as though I were being dramatic. "Don't exaggerate. Your dad added his name to the registration months ago when he took it for inspection. You signed the forms, remember?" I suddenly recalled that rushed morning before a shift when Dad shoved a paper in front of me, saying it was just renewal paperwork. I signed without thinking. That was the trap, they had set me up to steal what was mine. I stammered, "And what about Aiden's tuition? Why should I pay for that?" Her reply was calm, almost casual. "It's only fair. We supported you all these years, now it's your turn to give back. Your brother deserves a bright future. Families help each other." Hearing that, rage exploded inside me. "Fair?" I nearly shouted into the phone. "I've been working since I was 16, paying for my own books, covering my nursing school tuition. I even pay rent every month. Meanwhile, Aiden gets a brand new car, free meals, and everything handed to him. What's fair about that?" She cut me off, her tone icy. "Haley, don't be ungrateful. Without us, you'd have nothing. Your father has decided. Have the money ready. Deadline is Friday." I stood frozen, tears burning my eyes, but I forced them back. In that moment the truth was undeniable. To them I wasn't a daughter. I was just an endless wallet, always expected to give, never allowed to keep. Another notification popped up, this time from Aiden. "Thanks in advance, sis. I already ordered my laptop. With you covering tuition I don't have to worry. You're the best." My hands trembled with fury as I clenched the phone. And right then I knew I couldn't keep enduring this. Deep inside I swore. This was the turning point. This was where it all ended. I sat frozen in the hospital supply room, my phone screen still glowing with Aiden's brazen message. Before my anger even had a chance to settle, memories of my childhood and all the years growing up came flooding back, reminding me that what was happening today was just the latest chapter in a long story of injustice. My father, Charles, had always been domineering, running the household like his personal company where everyone else had to obey. He dictated everything, what we ate for dinner, who was allowed to speak at the table, even small things like what clothes I could wear. My mother, Karen, never once objected. She lived like his shadow, nodding along to his every decision, regardless of who paid the price. And Aiden, my younger brother, had been coddled from day one. In my parents' eyes he could do no wrong. I was the opposite. No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. At 16 I already had to work to support myself. I babysat for neighbors and took weekend shifts at the local grocery store. Meanwhile, when Aiden was that age, he got a pair of $200 sneakers just to keep up with his friends. Anytime I pointed out the unfairness, Dad would snap. A son needs investment. A daughter needs to learn responsibility. By 18, I thought maybe things would ease so I could focus on school. Instead, Dad announced that since I was now an adult, I had to contribute to the family. From then on, I paid $450 every month for rent. That money never went toward household improvements or new furniture. It just vanished without explanation. At the same time, Aiden received a brand new pickup truck worth nearly $20,000 for his 16th birthday. I'll never forget the moment I earned a small scholarship for community college. It was the reward for nights of studying after exhausting shifts. But my joy was short-lived. My parents said, "This house gives you food and shelter. That scholarship only exists because of our support. So the money should be used for more important needs." Within days, my scholarship was gone and I was back working late nights to cover books. Even precious memories were taken from me. Before she passed, my grandmother Evelyn gave me a pearl necklace. I treasured it as the only thing left just for me. But a few months later, I saw it dangling from my mother's neck at a family gathering. When I asked about it, she brushed me off with, "In this family, everything is shared. Don't be selfish." I swallowed my words along with my tears. When I graduated from my nursing program, my aunt gifted me $1,000 to celebrate. That too disappeared. Dad claimed the backyard needed repairs and said, "That's a family priority." I objected, but in the end I had no choice but to hand it over. That was the first time I truly realized that, to them, I was nothing more than a backup bank account. While I worked grueling shifts at the hospital, Aiden had everything at his fingertips. The newest gaming consoles, designer clothes, even a trip to Florida to relax before finals. When I mentioned fairness, Dad looked me in the eye and declared, "Aiden is the future of this family. You should just be grateful we let you live under this roof." Those words etched themselves into my memory like scars. And now, staring at a message ordering me to cover over $6,000 of tuition, I finally understood. They had never planned to stop. For years I convinced myself to endure for the sake of family. But the truth was, I had only ever been exploited. I leaned back against the wall, my chest tight. The memories stoked my fury, but they also sharpened my resolve. If my parents thought I would fold like I always had before, they were wrong. A part of me had been worn down for years. But another part, the strongest part, had just woken up. I had grown far too used to fighting on my own. No one in my family ever believed I could go beyond a part-time job at the grocery store. My dad used to say bluntly, "Girls don't need to worry about studying so much. Just get married and that's it." But those words only pushed me to grit my teeth and keep moving forward. I spent nights buried in textbooks, days off working double shifts, scraping together enough money for nursing courses. Some mornings I'd leave a night shift with bloodshot eyes, then rush straight to clinical practice. My classmates had parents backing them up. I only had my hands and sheer determination. There were plenty of times I wanted to quit, but the image of patients needing care kept me going. At 23, I finally held my RN registered nurse license. It felt like stepping out of an invisible cage my family had built around me. I cried at graduation, not just from pride, but from knowing I could finally start writing my own story. Mary's Hospital hired me the moment I applied. At first, I worked nights in the inpatient ward. The job was grueling, but every hour spent by a patient's bedside was a step closer to freedom. Little by little, I learned to handle emergencies, calm worried families, and even manage an entire shift when chaos broke out. Just 1 year later, I was promoted to charge nurse in pediatrics. When I got the news, I almost couldn't believe it. My supervisor told me, "Haley, you're not only skilled, you lead others with confidence. This role is exactly what you deserve." Those words warmed me more than any praise I had ever longed to hear from my family. Outside of work, my proudest possession was the car I bought myself. A silver Honda Civic, old and far from flashy, but it was the result of 2 years of saving every penny. I researched prices online, compared models, and negotiated the deal myself. The day I held the keys, I felt like I finally had something that was truly mine, undeniable proof that I could stand on my own. I still remember that afternoon driving it home for the first time. Standing in front of the house, keys glinting in the sunset. Dad glanced at it and muttered, If you'd asked me, you could have gotten a better price. Mom nodded silently, offering no congratulations. Aiden smirked. An old car? Doesn't beat my truck. I didn't care. To me, it wasn't just a car. It was my declaration. I can take care of myself. As my job at the hospital grew steadier, I allowed myself small joys. A new dress for a dinner with coworkers. A pair of running shoes to clear my head. Each time I felt the difference. At the hospital I was Haley, the dedicated nurse, valued and respected. At home I was still nothing but a shadow, a wallet on standby. I'll never forget my 24th birthday when my coworkers surprised me with cake during shift. Amelia, another nurse, gave me a stethoscope-shaped keychain. For someone who's shining bright, she said. That single sentence nearly brought me to tears. After all these years, it was the first time anyone had truly recognized me, something my own family had never done. Work, my career, and that car became my lifelines. They gave me the strength to endure a little longer, saving every cent with the hope of finally leaving that suffocating house. I had a plan. Once I saved enough for a deposit and 6 months' rent, I'd move out. I had calculated it carefully and it all felt within reach. But then, on my 25th birthday, they stripped away the one symbol of freedom I had. When my shift ended, I caught the 40-minute bus ride home. Each stop felt like it dragged my anger along with it. As soon as I stepped inside, the smell of barbecue filled the living room. The table was set with polished dishes. Clearly, my mom, Karen, had prepared a special dinner. But I knew better. No one here was planning to celebrate my 25th birthday. The meal was just a setup for demands. My dad, Charles, sat slouched in his recliner, eyes glued to the TV. Without looking at me, he said in a dismissive tone, "Finally home. Sit down, we need to talk." I set my bag down, steadying my voice. "I just want to know one thing. Where is my Honda Civic?" Charles didn't even turn his head. "Sold it. Used the money for more important things. Good timing too. Aiden's tuition is due next week." My mom stepped out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Haley, don't ruin the mood. Eat first, then we'll talk." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Ruin the mood? Mom, that car was mine. I paid for it. The title is in my name. No one has the right to sell it but me." This time Charles finally looked me in the eye, daring me. "You signed the paperwork last month, remember? All I had to do was add my signature. That made it family property." I froze for a moment, then spoke through clenched teeth. "You tricked me into signing. You said it was just for registration renewal. All of it was a setup to steal my car. That's forgery, that's fraud." Aiden came bounding down the stairs, grinning. "Don't blow it out of proportion. I need that tuition paid. Mom and Dad said you'd handle it, so why complain now?" I turned to him, fire in my eyes. "Aiden, have you ever had to earn anything yourself? Your truck, your clothes, your tuition, everything was handed to you. Meanwhile, I've worked since I was 16, paid rent since 18, and now I've lost the one thing that was truly mine." My mom cut in, her voice soft but laced with pressure. "Haley, you have to understand, family comes first. $6,200 isn't so much compared to everything we've done for you." I slammed my hand on the table. "Enough. You've taken too much from me already. My scholarship, my graduation money, even Grandma Evelyn's pearl necklace. All gone. And now my car. For years I've been treated like a wallet, not a daughter." Charles shot up, his face burning red. "You have two choices. 1. Hand over the check for tuition by Friday. 2. Pack your things and get out. If you leave, don't bother calling yourself my daughter again." My heart pounded, but it wasn't fear this time. I met his glare with calm defiance. "If family means lies and exploitation, then I'd rather not be your daughter. I'll leave and I won't come back." Aiden gawked. "You're serious? You'd walk out over some tuition money?" I spun around, my voice like ice. "Not tuition, betrayal." The car was the breaking point. Karen broke into sobs, her familiar wailing filling the room. "Haley, how can you be so cruel? Your father only wanted what's best for the family." I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and cut her off. "Best for the family? Which family? Because all I see is everything revolving around one son while the daughter gets drained dry. Don't call it sacrifice. Call it what it is: exploitation." Behind me, Charles roared, "You'll regret this for the rest of your life. Without family, you are nothing." I drew a deep breath and answered firmly, "No. By leaving, I'll finally get to be myself. My heart hammered as I climbed the stairs, but my steps felt lighter, like I had just set down a weight I had carried for far too long. I slammed my bedroom door shut and leaned against it, my heart still pounding. My father's threats echoed from downstairs, but this time I wasn't trembling. I knew one thing for certain: I was leaving this house and I wouldn't look back. With shaky hands but a sharper mind than ever, I unlocked my phone and called Rachel, my close coworker from pediatrics. She picked up almost immediately. "Haley, oh my God, you sound tense. What happened?" I took a deep breath. "Rachel, I can't stay here another day. Do you know anywhere with a room available? I just need a safe place, even temporarily." Without hesitation, she answered, "My cousin mentioned an apartment on Maple Street has a vacancy. The landlord is reasonable. No long-term lease required. Want me to call right now?" Tears welled up, not from weakness but because someone was finally standing by me. "Please help me, Rachel. I need to get out." After hanging up, I sat at my old desk and opened the drawer I'd kept locked for years. Inside were fragments of evidence from a lifetime of exploitation. Rent receipts my dad had forced me to pay since I was 18, $450 each month, all signed by him. Over 6 years, the total neared $30,000. I stacked them neatly. Next came bank statements showing withdrawals I was forced to make for the household. Roof repairs, a new refrigerator, even that Florida vacation I was never invited to. I highlighted each entry, over $8,000 in total. There was also paperwork for a $1,500 scholarship that should have been mine, but my parents demanded I deposit directly into their account. I clipped it with a photocopy of the pearl necklace Grandma Evelyn left me, now worn around my mother's neck. I couldn't reclaim the necklace, but I had the proof. I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet. At the top, in bold, I typed, "Assets and money taken." I listed each item, every date, every excuse they had given to justify the theft. At the bottom, the final number glared back at me, $43,200. My hand trembled on the mouse. They hadn't just stolen money, they had stolen my freedom, my youth. That night, I hardly slept. I photographed every document, saved multiple copies, and emailed them to a backup account. Then I drafted a 27-page report, detailing every cent, every piece of evidence. I wrote in clear, objective language, legal, not emotional. When finished, I printed 3 copies. One to leave behind, one for a lawyer, one to keep with me. By 2 a.m. I began packing. Clothes went into 2 small suitcases. My laptop, certifications, and RN license into a backpack. I carefully retrieved an envelope containing my birth certificate, social security card, and passport, items I had hidden away in case my parents ever tried to take them. I set everything neatly beside the door. While folding a few photos, I paused at the framed picture of Grandma Evelyn. Her kind face blurred through my tears. I remembered her whispering once, "Know your worth, Haley. Don't let anyone take it from you." Tonight, her words lit my path forward. Before lying down, I emailed my full report to the law office a coworker had recommended. My note was brief. "My name is Haley Cooper, 25 years old, pediatric nurse at St. Mary's. I need advice regarding financial abuse within my family. Documents attached." When I hit send, I felt a strange, weightless relief. As dawn neared, I placed one copy of the report in an envelope and set it on the dining table downstairs. On the outside, I taped a handwritten note. "Read carefully. This is everything you've taken from me." The house, once so familiar, now felt foreign. Every wall, every door stood as proof of my years in captivity. I dragged my suitcases to the front door and glanced back one last time. But instead of sorrow, a fierce resolve filled me. This time I was truly free. Rachel was waiting for me outside her apartment building. The moment she saw me, she rushed forward and hugged me tightly. "You're safe now, Haley. Come inside and rest. Tomorrow morning I'll take you to meet the landlord at Maple Street." I nodded, feeling for the first time in years that someone was truly on my side. That night, I slept soundly on Rachel's couch. No shouting, no judging stares. The next morning, when I opened my phone, the screen was flooded with messages. Over 30 missed calls from my parents, dozens of texts one after another. I read them silently. From Charles, "Haley, get home immediately. You've crossed the line. Come back before it's too late." Another, Everything in that report you left is fabricated. No one will believe you. Then his tone shifted. Daughter, come home. We can talk this through. We're still your family. From my mother, Karen. Haley, how could you do this to us? You've humiliated the whole family. Think about your brother. Hours later. I'm begging you, don't make this public. I can't bear the neighbors finding out. I scrolled through them, my chest aching yet cold. All they cared about was reputation and money, never understanding. What surprised me most was a text from Aiden. At first, his usual tone. You're being selfish. I need that money for school. But by evening it changed. Sis, did Dad really sell your car? I saw the report. There are things I never knew. If it's true, then I'm sorry for always thinking you were just complaining. I sat still for a long time. For the first time, Aiden seemed to realize that his comfort had come at the cost of my sacrifices. That day, I met with attorney Elaine Peterson, who specialized in financial abuse cases within families. I handed her the full 27-page report, along with receipts, bank statements, and photos of the forged car registration. Elaine flipped through each page, nodding slowly. Haley, this evidence is very strong. Your father forging your signature to add his name to the car title is fraud. This case absolutely has legal standing. And the money you've been forced to pay over the years could be considered for restitution. I trembled, both anxious and relieved. She continued, if you want, I'll draft a formal demand letter for repayment of the money and the car's value. If they refuse, we'll file suit. I didn't hesitate. I want to move forward. Not just to get the money back, but to prove I won't be silent anymore. That afternoon, new messages poured in. My parents' tone had shifted again. Charles wrote, we can negotiate. I'll return part of the money. Don't escalate this. Karen pleaded, Haley, don't take us to court. The family can't handle it. I quietly set my phone down. For the first time, I felt the power was in my hands. Aiden texted again, Sis, I read everything you left. If it's all true, I can't believe Mom and Dad did that to you. I'm sorry. I had no idea you went through so much. I didn't reply immediately, but part of me felt a glimmer of hope. At least my brother was beginning to see the truth. That night, Rachel and I sat on her small balcony, the streetlights casting a soft glow. She looked at me with steady eyes. Haley, you've taken a huge step. Don't go back. You deserve a fair life. I nodded, eyes stinging but resolve stronger than ever. Within days, Elaine's demand letter was sent. My family fell into chaos. I knew from the flood of messages that followed. They cycled through anger, blame, and desperate pleading. But this time I wasn't swayed. I had the law on my side, my friends at my back, and, most importantly, the strength I never knew I had. Within just 2 weeks of leaving home, I had signed a lease for a 1-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood near downtown. It wasn't large, but it was bright, with a small balcony overlooking the park. The moment I stepped inside, I choked up. 4 plain walls, a brand new bed, a dining set still carrying the scent of fresh wood, all of it belonged to me, untouchable by anyone else. I began slowly purchasing the essentials. A small coffee maker for the kitchen corner, a simple bookshelf for my files, a few green plants to bring the space to life. Every item I bought came from my own paycheck, and each time I opened a new package, pride swelled in my chest. While I rebuilt my life, attorney Elaine kept pressing forward with the case. At first my parents denied everything, then deflected blame. But once confronted with solid evidence, the forged car registration, the rent receipts, they had no choice but to negotiate. After several tense discussions, they finally agreed to compensate me a total of $38,000. When Elaine handed me the check, my hands shook with a mix of triumph and grief. Triumph because justice had sided with me. Grief because the ones being held accountable were my own parents. Still, I understood this wasn't just about money. It was proof that I had been exploited for years, and that now I had broken free. I divided the money into 3 clear portions. The first went toward a car, not luxury, just a reliable used Mazda 3. Sliding behind the wheel, I felt reborn. This car wasn't only independence. It was a declaration that no one could derail me again. The second portion went directly into an emergency savings account, a promise to myself that I would never again be left vulnerable to financial control. The last portion went toward paying down my student loans, lifting a burden from my future. For the first time in my life, The road ahead looked clear instead of suffocating. Meanwhile, Aiden reached out several times. At first, I hesitated to respond. But one late evening, a long message came through. "Haley, I know I've benefited from privileges without ever considering what you sacrificed. I'm truly sorry for being blind, for dismissing you as just bitter. After reading everything you left, I realize how much you carried. I don't expect forgiveness right away, but I want you to know I regret it deeply." I read it over and over, my heart torn between pain and relief. The next day, I agreed to meet him at a small cafe near the hospital. Sitting across from me, he no longer wore that smug expression. His head bowed, his voice unsteady. "I was wrong. I only ever took without asking if you could handle it. I honestly didn't know Mom and Dad had gone that far." I stayed quiet for a long moment before replying, "What I need isn't empty apologies. What I need is for you to change. Don't repeat the path they walked." Aiden nodded, his eyes filled with sincerity I hadn't seen in years. For the first time, I sensed a chance for us to rebuild a true sibling bond. In the months that followed, my new life settled into rhythm. Mornings, I drove to the hospital free of dread, no longer fearing the demands waiting at home. Evenings, I returned to my cozy apartment, brewed a cup of coffee and read by the balcony. It wasn't lavish, but it was freedom. Friends like Rachel and Amelia often stopped by, bringing small decorations or helping me cook dinner. They told me, "Haley, this is what family really is. The people who respect and support you." I smiled, quietly agreeing. News of what happened in my family spread faster than I ever imagined. In the small community where my parents lived, everyone soon knew that Charles had forged my signature to sell his own daughter's car. The 27-page report I left behind didn't just throw them into panic. It shattered the polished image they had carefully maintained. They had always been seen as the model family of the neighborhood. The strict father, the dutiful mother, the accomplished son. But once the truth came out, that facade crumbled completely. Relatives began whispering. Some even called me directly, asking bluntly, "Haley, is everything you wrote true?" I didn't hesitate, true to the last cent. Otherwise, the court would never have ordered them to pay damages. My words struck like sparks on dry wood. Bit by bit, my parents lost all respect within the family. Aunt Margaret told me that at one gathering, my uncle said openly, "Charles, instead of raising both children equally, you turned one into an A-team. Now the whole neighborhood knows it." My father's face flushed red as he stormed out, while my mother could only stare at the floor. After that, they stopped attending family gatherings altogether. Their finances collapsed as well. After paying me $38,000 in restitution plus legal fees, debt piled up quickly. Even the large house they once boasted about ended up with a for sale sign. When I heard, I felt no satisfaction, only a bitter ache. I had given so much to that house and they never valued it. Now they were the ones paying the price. One late afternoon, as I was leaving the hospital, I received a package mailed from my old address. Inside was a small velvet box. My breath caught when I opened it. The pearl necklace from Grandma Evelyn lay neatly inside. Tucked with it was a scrap of paper in my mother's familiar handwriting. "Returning this to you. I'm sorry." I sat in silence for a long time. It wasn't a full apology for years of exploitation, but it was at least a sign that my mother, in her own way, acknowledged the wrong. I clasped the necklace in my hand, tears spilling down my cheeks. Still, I knew a piece of jewelry couldn't heal wounds carved so deep. My relationship with my parents remained distant. Occasionally, my mother sent a short message asking about my health, but she never faced her mistakes. My father stayed completely silent, clinging to his blind pride. I stopped hoping for their approval or love. That distance was necessary for my peace. Instead, it was Aunt Margaret, my mother's younger sister, who lifted me up. Since everything unfolded, she called often, telling me, "Haley, you weren't wrong to stand up. You did what many in this family never dared to do." She visited my apartment frequently, bringing warm meals and kind advice. In her, I found the image of a true mother, one who loved without conditions, without calculation. At the hospital, my friends became another source of strength. Rachel, Amelia, and the rest of the nurses teased me, "Haley, now you've got two families, one at work and one on Maple Street." I laughed, gratitude filling my chest. Maybe real family wasn't about blood, but about who chose to stand by you when you were at your weakest. Each time I passed my old neighborhood and saw that for sale sign still hanging, I didn't feel the sharp pain I once did. Instead, I saw it as proof that deceit always comes with a cost. My parents lost the thing they prized most: their reputation. Me. I gained what was most precious: my freedom and my dignity. One evening, I wore Grandma Evelyn's pearls while walking through the park. The moonlight reflected off each bead, reminding me that no matter how much I had lost, I had preserved what mattered most: my self-respect and the strength to stand tall. And this time no one could ever take it from me. Every morning when I wake up in my small apartment, one truth is clear: I have stepped out of the shadows of control. No one dictates how much money I must hand over. No one claims my achievements as family property. I cook my own breakfast, drive my Mazda 3 to the hospital, and end the day by returning to a place that is entirely mine. It's a feeling I never dared to dream of before. Over time, I realized something profound: blood ties do not automatically equal unconditional love. For years, I tried to prove myself worthy, believing that if I sacrificed just a little more, my parents would finally look at me with warmth. But my sacrifices only bred more unreasonable demands. Now I know, love cannot come from coercion, nor can it survive in an environment built on calculation. What changed me most was discovering I wasn't alone. While my family turned their backs, I found support among friends. Rachel, Amelia, and my coworkers organized a small housewarming in my new apartment, bringing simple yet heartfelt gifts: a picture frame, a little plant, a few curtains. I cried in their arms. That night, I realized family isn't defined by blood but by those who choose to stand with you, respect you, and ask for nothing in return. Aunt Margaret became another anchor. She never outright condemned my mother, but she didn't deny the truth either. She looked me in the eye and said, "Haley, you've been braver than my whole generation. We were taught to stay silent for the sake of family, but you've shown that silence only breeds more harm. I'm proud of you." Her words made me see myself not just as a rebel, but as someone forging a new path, one defined by respect and firm boundaries. Gradually, I built strong financial habits. Part of my paycheck went into an emergency fund, part towards student loans, and the rest for small joys: a weekend hike, a yoga class, a new dress to feel confident at work. Every dollar I spent came from my own effort, and for the first time, I never feared someone waiting to snatch it away. Even my relationship with Aiden shifted. He was still hesitant, but he began calling just to check in instead of demanding. Once he sighed and admitted, "Sis, I'm starting to understand what it means to fend for myself. The student loans are stressful, but I think it's something I need to carry. I can't just lean on others forever." Hearing that, my heart softened. At least he was learning a lesson I had paid far too high a price to grasp. As for my parents, I kept my distance. I held no grudge, but I would not allow them back into my life unless they truly changed. I knew they might never admit their mistakes, but that no longer mattered. What mattered was that I had learned to protect myself and everything that was mine. Now, when I look back, I don't see myself as a victim. I see a survivor, and more than that, a victor in my own story. True family are those who respect your boundaries, who celebrate your success instead of resenting or exploiting it. I once thought I'd be trapped in that cycle forever, but now I stand on my own 2 feet. And every time I step out onto my balcony and take a deep breath, I know that freedom